This side cut will cut people into two pieces like wheat. Throw fireballs in the ships and burn people alive. This is not the words of a cruel Tanisha, but the mind behind Mona Lisa's calm smile is of Leonardo da Vinci, a genius who invented in 20 worlds for 100 years ahead of his time, and he wrote his notebooks in inverted letters and hid them from the whole world. But Leonardo had two faces. On one side, a vegetarian, peaceful man who would buy birds and set them free. And on the other side, that face who was designing a chariot to cut people. On one side, the world he wanted to make, and on the other side, he wanted to see the world burn. For historians, it has always been a puzzle whether Leonardo was a hero or a villain. But the truth was so deep that perhaps these two words were too small for him. And his whole life turned upside down. The disgust, suspicion, and humiliation of the society broke him, and he locked himself in his room for 4 years. These 4 years will change his life, because in those dark places where people break, the birth of Leonardo's personal notebooks takes place. Page by page, a new eye, a new perspective, a thought that was not only seeing the world, but was also reading the hidden codes inside it. Leonardo's psycho thought was arising. Today in part 2, we are entering that phase of Da Vinci when the mind of Da Vinci, who was humiliated in society, starts to play the game of war and power. If you haven't seen part 1, then watch it first. 1482, Florence City. Now it had become a cage for Leonardo. Lack of money and dead dignity took a step from Leonardo that would change his whole life and character. He wrote a letter to Duke Ludovico Sforza to invite him to Milan. But in this letter, Leonardo did not call himself an artist, but wrote, "I can make weapons. I'm a war engineer." This is that real letter in English translated. Now, what else did a duke need? The request is accepted and the doors of Milan open for Da Vinci. Leonardo comes close to power and starts to change. This man who made designs of progress, now in the hope of pleasing his master, starts making death toys. Look at this, the Great Arbalest, a 2-story building-sized weapon. Rocks can be fired at the same time. More than firepower, it will work with fear power. Seeing this, the enemy will lose psychologically. Da Vinci was combining the art of emotions with the physics of weapons. Mechanics into psychology is equal to maximum impact. And then this machine, which has rhythm as a weapon. 11 barrels, 3 rotating rows means 33 back-to-back gunshots. The first rule of war, speed kills. And in the age of cannons, Leonardo thought of the concept of a machine gun, which would take 300 years to make the world. Then this is Leonardo's mounted scythe chariot, in which not humans but physics fights for you. Giant rotating blades on both sides, which will run the speed and torque of horses. The math was simple. Radius of rotation into velocity is equal to human destruction. Here he writes, these rotating blades will cut humans like wheat. Leonardo was not only making war machines, he was also fighting to earn his lost honor. And then this iron tank like a tortoise, fully covered, 360-degree fire capability, a moving iron fort, no one can touch inside, no one can stand outside. At that time, when people fought wars on horses, Leonardo was thinking of automating the fight. But now listen, whether Leonardo was good or bad becomes more confusing, because he deliberately designed the gear mechanisms in his killing machines. Now, some historians believe that Leonardo wanted to save the world silently from his own genius. There is no written proof of this, but the story ahead will clarify it more. Now this is the first steam-powered thermodynamic weapon in history, 300 years before the steam engine. Then this thing, which should not have happened in the 1400s, Leonardo's lion, a fully mechanical robot which could walk, move its head, and move its chest forward so that Sforza would show it proudly in the royal court after his victory. No electricity, no sensors, just gears, pulleys, springs, attempts to create life from machines for 100 years before the word robotics was invented. But look at the irony. In this phase, Leonardo writes in frustration, "Tell me, have I done any good work? I keep wasting my time." There are many such confessions in his notebooks. The truth was that Leonardo was fighting two battles every day, one from the world and one from himself. He had a problem in his mind, with which he struggled all his life, and in the end he would call himself the biggest failure. But now, the fight was on. Not only was the land not enough for Leonardo, he also needed the sky. The passion for flying was so deep that he writes, the problem was that Leonardo was also making the same mistake that everyone makes in the beginning, to think that birds fly because they flap their wings. Exactly copying this, he made his first flight machine, the ornithopter, which literally tried to fly like a dragonfly by flapping its wings. He made many versions, pedal-driven, pulley-driven, manually powered wings, all failed. He was copying the biology of birds without understanding the physics of flying. But in just a few years, he finally decoded it and invented this glider design in which a human could finally fly. He understood that not the flapping of a bird's wings, but the curved geometry of the wings actually splits the air into two parts. More pressure below, less pressure above, and this pressure difference creates the lift. Basically, he had understood the concept of the Bernoulli's principle of aerodynamics 300 years before it was invented. He writes, and his understanding was absolutely correct. Even today, his design can be successfully tried. Even this parachute design, which has been successfully tested by many people today. If you live beyond the world, by the time people understood what Leonardo was doing, those designs had already become the future. Leonardo had literally predicted the future with his obsession. This is another shocking invention, can you believe it? This is a helicopter design invented for 150 years ago. How did he come up with this genius idea? Well, through psychoanalysis. When he removed the screw, his mind literally became tight. To remove the screw, you have to rotate it, right? And it comes up from the surface. He noticed that the rotating thing comes up in any medium. He saw the rotating screw and discovered the air lift. Rotational motion creates lift. The same concept is used in modern helicopters today. The most interesting thing was that Leonardo had already seen the sky as a medium through which the force can travel. On one hand, he was learning physics by flying, and on the other hand, the dynamics of diving. This is the concept of his diving suit, which will look something like this today. This is the first hydraulics-powered renewable energy system for 100 years before the Industrial Revolution. Leonardo is designing how the flow of water can be converted into mechanical energy. There are hundreds of such mind-blowing concepts that this video will be too short for it. Basically, the first in history, the first in the world, XYZ, Leonardo's name is in many things. In this era, Leonardo was becoming an intellectual monster. On one hand, to understand the world from physics, he was exploring load distribution, pulleys, gears, and friction. On the other hand, to make the world from architecture, he was learning city planning, street architecture, and dome engineering. By decoding optics through ray diagrams, he was literally shining light on human emotions and neuropsychology, just to find his existence and to return his lost dignity. He was making history page by page, but from within, he was breaking. He writes his frustrations in his notebooks once again. You waste time. Finish what you started.
You're useless, just because to finish this iconic painting, he took 4 years. The Last Supper. But this painting was much more than religious art. It is literally a psychological X-ray. The courage to capture abstract concepts like human nature, emotion, body language, and psychology on a flat surface at that time. Every face expresses the truth of the characters of Jesus' 12 disciples. Shock, betrayal, anger, denial. The denial that Leonardo now feels in his lungs. Speaker 2 because those beautiful moments are now the past and the future. Speaker 1 in the year 1500, Sforza loses the war, afraid of being imprisoned. He has to leave the city of Da Vinci, but the desire for power was not over yet. All the paths of history were taking Leonardo to the same destination, war. Soon, Da Vinci finds himself in the assembly of another dangerous man, a power-hungry warlord, Cesare Borgia, on whom Niccolo Machiavelli has written the famous The Prince book. If you have read 48 Laws of Power, it is also inspired by this The Prince book. Cesare Borgia's simple formula was politics is equal to power and to betrayal and fear is equal to brutality and torture. For this military general, Da Vinci designs the first satellite view military city in history, systems that control the rivers, that can win the war, assembly bridges that get ready quickly in war. But by staying close to Borgia, something good happens. Leonardo finally begins to realize what he is becoming. He has completely lost his real identity, just to relieve his past wounds. A genius who believed in non-violence was misusing his talent in a year. He leaves Borgia and returns to Florence, and starts working on a beautiful thing. After seeing a lot of ugliness, now just a beautiful face. A painting that will make history and become immortal. The Mona Lisa. This was more of an art-cum-science experiment, because Leonardo now understood the geometry of the face, the optics of the smile, and the behavior of light on the skin much better than before, and he wanted to do something big in realism art.